combine week. You're trying to catch up to teams that have passed you. The Eagles are the team to beat, obviously. And we'll talk about the Eagles, but I think the Niners have to approach this as like in stages. And maybe before they reach the Eagles level, they should figure out a way to catch the best team in their own division. The Rams, how far ahead of the Niners do you think the Rams are to start there?
Let's phrase it like this. What do the Niners need to do to be as good as the Rams? Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. And then after that, we'll get to the Eagles, the standard for the league, but also the standard for the NFC. So what must the Niners do to become as good as the Rams? Iggy, they need to get a defense.
It starts right there.
I think so. I
Yeah.
do. I'm not even looking at offense. They need to get a defense.
Yeah. And I think what's so interesting about the Rams, the way they've put it together, they had Aaron Donald for a long time, and he was sort of the foundation of their defense. He retired, and they had to build it completely new. And instead of like trying to go sign someone like Javon Hargrave, which the Niners did, they just drafted a bunch of young guys mostly and played the young guys and let them learn on the job. And now they've gotten about 2 seasons of experience, and they have a bunch of really good young players on their defense who aren't making a lot of money. The Niners don't even play their young players.
Oh, no, that's what Kyle Shanahan doesn't do.
Right.
So, I mean, specifically, and we're going to go over this again with the Eagles, because the Eagles, now that's a defense. The Rams is a pretty good defense. I mean, the Rams are not a great team. They were the best team in really a weak division. And they got exposed. And I mean, the Eagles killed them. And the way Saquon Barkley was able to run on them was really, in a way, disgusting, Iggy.
Yes.
It was, I have to say. So the standard is not very high for the Niners to beat them. Still, they would need a defense. And let me say, Iggy, I'm going to give them credit that their secondary is good and will be good. Plus, they got Robert Saleh back, and that's a big deal because he's really good. But Iggy, they need a defensive line, and they need better linebackers. I mean, they really are at a deficit. So that's where I start. What do you think they need to be better, as good as or better than the Rams in the upcoming season?
Let's compare the defensive lines. The Rams defensive line consists of 4 young players that they've drafted in the last 2 drafts. So they really did a good job. The Niners defensive line, they got Nick Bosa. They drafted him. Good. They also paid him a lot of money. Leonard Floyd signed him. Malik Collins signed him. Jordan Elliott signed him. So those are like 3 older, mediocre players. If the Niners are going to get a really good defense, they're either going to have to spend a ton of money on those players, which is not what the Rams do, or draft them high consistently and get them right. And the Niners are like not years behind it, but it did take the Rams 2 drafts.
Again, I'm going to use the word deficit. The Niners are at a deficit because on the defense, that's a lot of players that they have to coach up, build up. And can you do that in one off season? I mean, a lot of people are saying the Niners are really a contender for next season. Well, if you're looking at the defense, it seems like that may be 2 seasons of rebuilding, not 1.
I mean, the last time the Niners faced this Rams team, the Niners scored 6 points. So this Rams defense destroyed them. And we saw the way to beat them is to run the ball a lot. Eagles did that. The Niners used to be that kind of a team. I don't know if they still are, but to be as good as the Rams, you really have to be great at running the ball because they have an incredible pass rush.
And we've been over this 1,000 times. The Niners, the offensive line can block for the run some of the time, but they're not particularly good at defending the quarterback. Look in the Super Bowl how much time Jalen Hurts had.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good quarterback, Iggy, but he's not a great quarterback. And then on the other side was a great quarterback, Mahomes. He couldn't get anything done because he never had a moment. He never had a second. So I don't know. In order for the Niners to compete with the Rams, they're going to have a much better offensive line, and they don't seem to care about that.
Yeah.
So I feel they're at a deficit on the line on each side.
Agree. And then there's also a big difference between their quarterbacks. I mean, Stafford may retire soon, or maybe they'll trade him this year. Who knows? There's weird sort of rumors going on with him. But for now, the Rams have the much better quarterback. And in close games, you used to look at Stafford as the guy who would throw the bad pass, make the bad decision, give it up. But he's become really good in close games, whereas Purdy's the one who sort of has the tendency to give it up.
Yeah, I used to see Purdy as a better competitor in the crisis moment than Stafford, but I don't anymore. I see Stafford actually as someone who'll rise up. And Purdy this season was throwing picks toward the end, and the one guy rose up. I thought he was shrinking,
Yeah.
Iggy. I do. I think he was shrinking. And, I really, in a way, root for him. He's a great story. He seems like a very nice young man. I would like him to make it, but I have to be honest. I can't say, Iggy, I can't say I was very impressed with him this past season, and especially in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. That's troubling to me because you were sort of educated by Bill Walsh. All Niner people were sort of schooled by Bill Walsh. And for him, it was always about the fourth quarter. How you performed in the fourth quarter is kind of what defines you. And at least this season, he was DeBerg in the fourth quarter. Dad, here's some numbers. First half, second half. First half of this in the first half of games this season, he threw 12 touchdown passes and 2 picks. It's good. Then in the second half, he threw 8 touchdown passes and 10 picks.
That's really not good.
He went from really good to really not good. We saw it happen multiple times.
Why do you think that happened? Because I don't know.
So many theories. I don't know. I had someone write me an email today saying they think it's because his elbow is still messed up and he gets tired as the game goes along. Can you tell me? I don't know. Maybe it's nerves. Maybe it's pressure. Maybe it's the fact that early in his career, he was involved in so many blowouts because the team was so good and he was new. Now he's in close games and he's not so great in close games. Or Kyle's not so great in close games. The whole team isn't so great in close games.
I could go for that latter theory. I don't think Kyle is good in close games. I don't think he knows how to finish. And his quarterback is taking his lead. I don't think he knows how to finish either.
No. It was interesting at the end of the season, Brock comes out. He's very honest. You remember how Tim Lincecum would sort of give these confessions after starts and be very self-reflective?
Right. Yes.
Brock's that way too. And he said this weird thing. He's like, I really got to get back to the mindset I had when I first got in the league, when I was just trying to prove myself and show to my teammates that I belong. And it's like, what does that mean? Because it kind of implies, well, it definitely implies that his mindset has shifted. And I think you could maybe guess that in this past year with the whole contract looming over everything, that he was maybe trying to prove that he was elite and not just being himself.
Whatever it means, and Iggy, I'm not sure what it means. It strikes me as a young man who has self-doubt.
Yep.
That's what it strikes me as.
Right.
And it's very hard to be a great quarterback when you have self-doubt.
Sounds like something Jake Moody would say.
Yeah, that poor guy.
Poor guy.